Kamaru Usman reacts to UFC 272 main event outcome. On a recent appearance on MMA Hour with Ariel Helwani, Usman shared with fans what he thought about the fight. UFC 272 came to a close as expected, Usman told ESPN. I knew that Covington's wrestling was going to be the big difference. Masvidal had moments in there, but Covington did his thing. So maybe down the line, I smash. Stephen A. Smith bombarded Masvidal's performance with criticism. ESPN analyst Stephen A. Smith criticized Masvidal's excuse for the loss. Here is what he had to say. I'm a huge Masvidal fan. I think he's great for the sport because he's got knockout power in both punches. He can obviously use that knee very well, and he has improved his wrestling. But Colby Covington showed that he's on a different level from a wrestling standpoint and from a stamina standpoint. One of the things that I paid attention to coming into the fight is something that Colby Covington said. Because he knew him and they were former best friends and roommates turned enemies, Covington said, Masvidal trains for his fights. I live this. What he was talking about is he is always in shape. He's never out of shape. He's renowned for his condition and the pressure he's able to apply and how he never lets up because he keeps on coming. I saw Masvidal gutsy and survive the 5 rounds, but while he was waving Covington on to come on, let's get some more, he was literally using 2 security personnel to lean on because that's how exhausted he was. Covington looked like he was just starting. He was that energized. The guy is in phenomenal shape. He's an outstanding wrestler, and Masvidal admitted that his wrestling was flat. How was it flat coming into this fight knowing this guy as well as you know him and knowing what he was going to try to do to you and how much you supposedly hate him? How you are not ready for a wrestling match? I don't understand. It's inexplicable. Middleweight champion Israel Adesanya is still interested in fighting Jon Jones but doesn't think it needs to be done for his legacy. I don't need it, but I do want it, Adesanya told TMZ. I don't need it, though that's the thing. People think I need that for my legacy. Nah, I'm good where I'm at. He continued, I like light heavyweight. That's where he was so dominant, so I really wanted to be at light heavyweight. He put my name in his mouth first, Adesanya said. He was a fan and then he realized there's an opportunity there. You're supposed to be the GOAT, and you want to fight me? That shows me you think I'm a threat. F this C word. But hey, he needs to find himself first. Fight his demons. That's the main thing he needs to be fighting. Go back to church. Philippians 3:16, 4:13, or whatever it was. Go back to church. Islam Makhachev denies asking UFC for $1 million to fight RDA. After his win against Bobby Green in February, Islam Makhachev was ready to step in against Rafael dos Anjos on short notice to replace Rafael Fiziev. UFC President Dana White told reporters that Islam asked UFC for $1 million to fight RDA. Makhachev denies it. Here's what he had to say. They say Conor McGregor is maybe going to come back and fight for the title. Makhachev told ESPN. When he fought last time in the lightweight division and won was 2016? 5-6 years ago? I'm going to take this belt, defend 35 times, and I'm going to come to the welterweight division. I saw this fight from UFC 272. I was in the first row when George Masvidal fought Colby Covington. These guys, honestly, I really believe I can beat these guys one night, both. Colby, he was just wrestling. I can beat him easy in wrestling. His striking is very slow. Other guy, Masvidal, I think he's so old now he just makes some money, maybe a couple more fights, he's gonna retire. I don't want to talk about this, very small, nothing big. Makhachev said of his request to fill in. Not $1 million, 100% not $1 million. Dana White said, I turned down this fight, but Monday morning, when I wake up, I just saw some news like Fiziev had COVID, the fight is canceled, and I've been in California on vacation. And I wake up and call my manager, Makhachev said, Hey Ali, I saw some news. Please call UFC and say I'm ready for this fight. I asked about some conditions, but very small conditions, nothing big that wasn't possible to do. UFC didn't call me. Not Ali call me. I wake up and I call Ali and I tell him, talk with UFC, please, I want this fight. but UFC not do it. That's why the fight didn't happen, and that's it. Gilbert Burns was not impressed with Colby Covington's UFC 272 performance. He just wrestled. Former UFC welterweight title challenger Gilbert Burns has explained why he wasn't impressed by Colby Covington's performance at UFC 272. Chaos outgrappled and outpointed friend-turned-foe George Masvidal over the course of their 5-round welterweight bout that headlined UFC 272 on March 5th. The fight ended with Covington securing a dominant unanimous decision win, with the judges' scorecards reading 49, 46, 50-44, and 50-45, all in his favor. During an interview with Helen Yee for Helen Yee Sports, Gilbert Burns chimed in with his take on Covington's victory over Masvidal. When asked whether anything in the Covington-Masvidal fight surprised him, Burns stated, "A little bit, I think. The lack of preparation with Masvidal was real. Everyone could see that he wasn't in there, I think. I bet on Masvidal. I don't like Colby, so I want my dog to win. But Colby went there and did what he did. A lot of wrestling. He has a good pace, but I don't think he's that crazy cardio king, but he has a good cardio." Durinho added, "But not a lot of damage, not a finishing ground and pound hurting. He don't even cut the guy, he just wrestled, so not impressed, but yeah, a good performance." Chaos parted ways with the ATT, American Top Team gym, and has been training at the MMA Masters since 2020. He's been at odds with several of his former ATT teammates, including Masvidal, over the last few years. Speaking of which, Covington has challenged his former ATT training partner, Dustin Poirier, to a fight next. Dana White comments on Gilbert Burns versus Khamzat Chimaev being a #1 contender's fight. During the UFC 272 post-fight press conference, UFC President Dana White revealed that the winner of the upcoming fight between Gilbert Burns and rising star Khamzat Chimaev will likely be awarded a UFC welterweight title shot. Burns currently holds the #2 spot in the official UFC welterweight rankings, whereas Chimaev is ranked number 11. Durinho came up short in his bid to dethrone UFC welterweight champion Kamaru Usman, losing via third-round TKO at UFC 258 in February 2021. Burns returned to his winning ways by defeating Stephen Wonderboy Thompson via unanimous decision at UFC 264 in July 2021. Burns is now looking to become the first fighter to beat Russian-born Swedish grappling wizard Khamzat Chimaev, whom he will face in a welterweight bout at UFC 273 on April 9th. Michael Chandler understands why the Notorious might get a title shot on UFC return. The sport is better when Conor McGregor is in it. Michael Chandler has revealed that he won't be surprised if Conor McGregor competes for the UFC lightweight title in his comeback fight. The Notorious suffered a leg injury last July but is expected to return later this year. McGregor has called out UFC lightweight champion Charles Oliveira for his next fight. Oliveira has also previously expressed interest in fighting McGregor. Speaking to The Schmo, Chandler addressed this and stated, "This is the fight game, but even more than that, it is the fight business. If it makes good business, it makes good sense. In a lot of ways, Conor's still the biggest name to ever hit the sport of mixed martial arts, definitely of all time as of right now, and maybe of all time in the future. We may never see another Conor again, so I think the sport is better when Conor McGregor is in it. Luckily, our names are in similar areas. I would like that fight down the line." Iron pointed out that McGregor, too, had previously spoken about the possibility of fighting him. Additionally, Chandler explained that the UFC lightweight champion might choose to fight McGregor. He highlighted that Nate Diaz and George Masvidal are also being considered as opponents for McGregor. Michael Chandler feels he'd be a bad matchup for McGregor, particularly since the Irishman is coming off a gruesome leg injury and a pair of consecutive losses. He suggested that it isn't just the monetary benefit, but rather the tremendously high stakes of a McGregor fight that truly intrigues him. Chandler is expected to fight Tony Ferguson next at UFC 274 on May 7th. Meanwhile, Oliveira is scheduled to defend his lightweight belt against Justin Gaethje in UFC 274's headlining matchup.